Hi everyone. I wanted to start this week by giving a bit of a shout out, a bit of a thanks to the people who've supported me thus far. People on Patreon, lovely people, thank you very much. Also, we've got a couple of people have given me donations via the tips jar link. Big thank you to you. And also, the final one is some people have bought music tracks, on iTunes, which is lovely, and money comes in and helps, doesn't it? Thank you very much. If you've done anything to support this project, marvellous, thank you. Okay, onwards. So last week I didn't speak to you at all. Showed you a few things going on around the boat. We'll have a look at those today. As you can see, I'm sat on the port side settee that's under construction. We'll have a look at that. Basically speaking, I'm also going through the hull, sealing any of the screw holes that remember the screws that pulled the boards together, any gaps that are anywhere that moisture might get into, so I'm going around sealing that. But now we'll have a look around at a few things that we did. So yeah, you saw me last week glassing the foredeck, cut the cloth, fiberglassed it on. Since then I've put another coat of resin over it just to fill the weave. Needs a bit of sand, but it's lovely, glassy, smooth, and completely sealed. So that's the foredeck. I'm happy with that. Later on, say it'll have a sand and before it's painted, but that's looking nice. And then some work going on the engine. So we'll just go down and have a quick look at that. Yeah. So the engine, as you saw last week, I made up these. Because I've decided to go with this engine bed. I have to say, I have to be fair to the guy I bought it from. I looked at the invoice from when I bought the engine and bed, and it clearly says on the invoice that it was not the right bed for this engine, and it would need adaptation. So nobody's done anything wrong there. So anyhow, but it certainly can be adapted. So I'm going to fit this bed, and what you saw last week, of course, was me making up these engine mounting adapter plates. Can you come in a bit, Kerry? Yeah, these plates. So I bought some steel. It's 10 centimeters wide, it's 1 centimeter thick, and I cut it into lengths, welded it up, threaded a hole in one place. The others are just through drilled holes that bolts in place, and that's for the forward engine mount. It's nice and solid, lovely. It's going to work well. The rear engine mount, or the sail drive mount, if you like, is still not complete, and I'm waiting on this clamp ring. I haven't got the clamp ring that clamps this diaphragm in place, the hull seal as they call it. And I know from looking at pictures and whatever on the web that this rear engine mount fits on top. At least I say I know, I think. This rear engine mount sits on top of that clamp ring. So I'm waiting to get the clamp ring. I've ordered it, waiting for it to arrive before I finish this rear engine mount. At the end of the day, I've lifted the engine up 3 centimeters fore and aft. Obviously it needs to be level. So, but that looks good. When I look at the clearance under there, between that hull seal and the back of the bell housing there, I think it's right. So I'll get that clamp ring, try it out, see how it works, just check everything's right before we finish off there. I think I can adapt this rear engine mount so that it doubles up as a clamping plate for clamping the whole thing down to the boat, because I don't just want to rely on fiberglass in that engine bed in. So that's one of the ways I should be clamping it down. But that's coming on well, happy with that. I bought some primer for painting the metal. That'll be done this week before the rust sets in. But that's looking good. Now we'll go inside and look at what's going on in there. Oh no, I'll tell you what, before we do that, Kerry, you can just spin around gently and you'll see 6 boards laid up there. They are the boards for the hatches on the port side settee and the boards that go in the bottom of the port side settee. So it's a bit of a fiddle, particularly the bottom ones are a bit of an awkward shape, so it took a while to cut, but they're coming on well. Good, we'll cut there, go inside. Yeah, and so what I'm working on at the moment is this settee. So, you know, quite a bit of thought. You want to get the depth of the settee right for sitting on, to be comfortable. The angle of the back needs to be right to be comfortable. So I've basically taken measurements off of other seats and tried to build it to a sort of standard-ish size and angle. This board at the moment is loose. Oh, there we go. That comes out. Let me just get that out of the way. Can you get in here, Kerry? So those boards that you saw that have been sealed, they go in the bottom onto these various beams, so that whatever's being stored under that settee don't sit on the bottom of the hull. So they're going to go in there. I've got these battens around the hull, epoxied to the side of the hull. And also, in part of the structure of this, I've bored holes, drilled holes, cut holes through each of these bulkhead sections, so that, well, certainly for the water pipe from the tanks coming up to the galley, come through there, and anything else that might need to. Wiring will go higher, but water tank and, you know, there may be a cable or something that needs to run. Water tank, water pipe, and maybe a cable or two that run through there. So they're all bored through, so it's easy enough to run that water piping. This is all sealed and in place, and obviously it'll be painted out next. And then this one, as you saw, will be fixed in position. And then the whole thing will be glued and screwed in position. The whole thing becomes a structural unit as well. It's fixed to the side of the hull. It's a box beam along the length of the hull. So, you know, all of these integral sort of monocoque structure furniture fittings also lend strength to the hull. So it should be impressively strong at the end of it. This side's a full length settee. This side, as I've said before, is going to be a shorter settee because the chart table is coming against this bulkhead. So that's where we are at the moment. That's what's going on. Just waiting to be painted out so that I can finish off that structure and then work on the back. That's what we're doing. As soon as I've got that clamping ring for the engine, we're going to go into the engine room and fit the engine, because the goal is to fit the bigger pieces now, which is settees and this longitudinal bulkhead for the head section and the engine. So once those are in, then I can get the deck decked, the side decks and the top there, get it all decked and sealed, because where are we now? We're late September, aren't we? And summer is clearly finished. It's much cooler now. Clearly cold weather's going to come. Normally here it's okay till Christmas, and then after Christmas it gets quite cold. So if I get it decked by then you know, I can put just a little electric heater in here, one of them little ceramic heaters in here, and it'll probably should keep it a comfy temperature in the boat for working on in the boats. And then I can do the little bits, you know, which is the plan at the moment. That's the way we're going to progress. To get the big bits in before the deck goes on, get it decked, and then make it toasty warm for working on through the winter. Well, yeah, so you can see I've painted out those lockers now. I've painted out the bilges and the lockers with bilge paint. Got 2 coats of bilge paint on there, seals it very nicely. Makes it look very clean and tidy. Just give you a slow scan over those. And you can also see I've started constructing the other parts of the settees. Scanning around there. So this is the shorter starboard side settee now. Just started it really. And then if we turn around, you'll see it's the top for the port side settee there. I'll put the battens around the openings there, so the hatch boards to the lockers sit onto those battens, obviously. And now that the paint's dry, it's time to get this top fitted on there and glued on, permanently fitted. Moving forwards again, there you go, you see the sort of C-shaped effect of the of the settee, you start to get a bit of an idea of what that's going to look like. Work in progress. Got another box arrived from Binker. It's another gallon of epoxy. A bit more than a gallon really in it with the 2 tubs. Have a little look. They're really good. I ordered it yesterday morning. Today lunchtime it's here. The Velo rollers that I use for epoxying and bilge paint, and the resin. There we go. And given the time of year, I've gone for the cold weather hardener. So this works down to 5 degrees. Yeah, so now we're just going to go in the boat now and have a look at what's gone on this week, it's been a little bit frustrating in a way, but let's go and have a look. Okay, so here we are, and it doesn't look wildly different to last time, does it? I've cut a couple of floorboards, also tied that up to give me the diameter of the mast, and the mast goes back pretty much about there, just to look at the space coming through around there, that was a thought. Anyhow, in here, I cut a couple of floorboards, just roughly at the moment. They will be covered with I think a Rabini, which is Rabinia or locust wood or false acacia. It's the same stuff. A Rabini hardwood topping on there. It looks a little bit like teak, looks quite nice. And the beauty of Rabini or locust wood or whatever you want to call it is it grows locally, so it's a local hardwood. Very durable, so should be good. So I should be doing the floor with that on top of these ply panels, and I think I'll probably do the rubbing stroke with it as well if I can. We'll see. Anyhow, back to here where we are. Down the starboard side, you see I've got the two dividers in, and down in the bottom, the battens in so that everything's level on the bottom there, because when we look at the other side, you'll see what happens there. But it's a fiddly old game. It's taken a long time to get those in, get it battened up, get it shaped up. It's done. On this side, let me kneel down. On the port side, this top is now glued in. You can hear, sounds really solid. Great. Glued in place, filled along the back there, so it's all tied in nicely to the hull. Got the three tops on with the finger holes. I think you saw me cutting the finger holes, didn't you? And then when we look inside, if Kerry, if you can just come up and let's have a, and you see down in there, you'll see, let me get my head out of the way, painted out with bilge paint, 2 coats of bilge paint. There's a board in the bottom there, and I'm now just I want to show you this. Let's lean in. These boards in the bottom, they're in there and they can't come out again. They don't fit through this hatch, but they're not screwed in or glued in. They just lay in there so that if you need to get at the hull in any way, they just lift out the way. And as you see, that's all bilge painted out. For example, we'll go up like that. Bit of wood down the bottom of that, get that out. Go up like that. So for cleaning purposes or access to the hull, no problem. And they lay back in there, and whatever you're storing in there obviously sits on those boards. The boards themselves are sealed with epoxy, and as I say, 2 coats of bilge paint on the insides of the lockers. So I've also been in this section and sealed it around the various beams so that everything's sealed. That's most important. I've been around there with some epoxy filler. The next job is to cut those boards of the lockers in these 3 sections, and then get the tops cut. And that will be, well, they won't be finished then, because after that, obviously the backs and the bookshelves that go above the backs, and the back comes up something like this with the bookshelf there. Yeah, both sides, obviously. I did at some stage, or an earlier stage, I also clamped a board in here to look at that head section, because there's a lot of sort of thinking goes on. You try and conceptualise the sizes and the shapes. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to be fine. But that's where we are. As I say, in a way, it seems like slow progress this week, and I suppose other ways we've done fine.
Riches in the sunset, standing at the sea. Tell me where you're going so decisively. What's your destination? Tell me where you're bound. We can move together where adventures abound. Running free before the breeze. Are there many days such as these?